The latest reports coming in about the AirAsia flight missing since early today. It may have crashed near some Indonesian islands in the Java Sea, but there is no official confirmation from the airline or any of the governments involved. The flight from the Indonesian city of Surabaya to Singapore lost contact with air traffic control at 6:24 a.m. local time. That's around 4:54 a.m. Indian time today. The flight took off at 5:35 a.m. local time and was to reach Singapore in about 2 hours. According to the latest reports, the flight could have gone down in the Java Sea, a little east of the Indonesian island of Belitung. Well, there are 162 passengers on board flight QZ8501, the AirAsia flight, though none of them are Indian citizens. We've got a copy of the flight manifest. The aircraft, an Airbus A320, has at least 155 passengers along with 7 crew. These include 16 children and 1 infant. Most of the passengers are Indonesian nationals. According to reports, 3 passengers are South Koreans, and the manifest has 1 each from Singapore and Malaysia. If the worst is confirmed, Flight 8501 will be the 3rd Malaysian carrier down this year after MH370 and MH17. According to initial reports, bad weather could be responsible for the missing aircraft. AirAsia has tweeted that the aircraft was on its submitted flight plan route but had requested a change due to weather conditions. The weather was said to be stormy in the area. The flight had fuel enough for about 4.5 hours of flying, and there is one theory doing the rounds that it tried to climb too fast to avoid clouds and may have entered into a stall regime. Latest media reports suggest that the Airbus A320 circled over the sea near Belitung to avoid a storm before it experienced severe turbulence and disappeared from air traffic control communications. India, meanwhile, has pitched in, offering naval and air assets in the search and rescue operations if necessary for the missing AirAsia aircraft. 1 naval P-8I Poseidon aircraft is on standby in Tamil Nadu, while 3 ships have been put to sea. 1 ship from Chennai and 2 from Port Blair in the Andaman Islands. Let's go straight across to headlines today's Jugal Purohit for more on this. Jugal, no official request has come in yet from Indonesia or Malaysia or any of the countries already involved in the tracking operations for flight QZ8501, but the Indian Navy has already put an aircraft and 3 ships on standby should such a request come in.
Absolutely, Shiv. In fact, as the predominant maritime power in this particular region, India not only has more number of assets to provide, whether it's aerial or whether it's surface ships, but also India has a long-standing partnerships, whether it be with the Indonesian Navy, whether it be with the Singaporean Navy, or even the Malaysian Navy. So in that sense, it may not be taking too much for them to seek India's assistance, and that's the reason why a stance like the one that the Indian Navy has adopted is definitely going to come in handy. Because if such a request were to come, then mobilization will be extremely quick. So though of course we are aware that the Royal Singapore, the Royal Malaysian armed forces as well as those of the Republic of Singapore are already on the task, and there is, as of now, as you said, no real requirement. But India, if you recall, had also participated in the search for the MH370 Malaysian lines. So giving all of that, keeping all of that in mind, this is the stand that the Navy has adopted, and we are all awaiting, if at all, there is going to be an official word for any kind of request.
Thanks, Jugal, for getting us that update. Well, as expected, there's a lot of speculation over what may have happened to the Airbus A320. Scores of theories doing the rounds offline on social media as well. My colleague Pankaj Upadhyay sifts through some of them to bring a clearer picture, if that's even possible at this time, of what may have happened to flight QZ8501.
We're trying to put into some sort of a perspective as to what could have really happened with AirAsia Indonesia QZ8501. Various bit of information that we really have, we are trying to piece together. First of all, this is the map. Now, this is the red marks that you're seeing here. This was the designated path which this AirAsia Indonesia flight was supposed to take. And the blue line that you see is the actual path that it really took. Now, it is not unusual for the pilot to seek a deviated path if it wishes to maneuver, seeing a very heavy cloud cover. What is unusual definitely is the pilot losing all contact with the ATC. Now this entire area if you notice, this is very unlike the MH370 area over which MH370 was flying, and it became a real challenge for the investigative agencies and even for the search and rescue operation teams to look for the plane. This area is not an isolated area. It is a very heavy air traffic prone area. So it is very difficult to understand as to how the pilot of this plane could lose contact with the ATC. Now, after having a word with the various air experts, we have put in the various pointers where we try and understand as to what could have possibly happened. If in this entire region, considering that the weather was very turbulent and if there was an air explosion, there would definitely be debris around. There is an umbrella of satellites all over. There are sensors. So debris would be found. There is no report on that front. Secondly, if there was an engine failure, the pilot would definitely have time to report of the same to the ATC. Now, even believing that everything failed, even in these automatic machines, highly sophisticated machines, and the pilot was in some sort of a control of the machine, then he would definitely have been in a position to glide this plane to at least to 80 and 90 miles and then inform the ATC of the same. Whether that really happened, we don't know. Now, this blue line that you are seeing, the deviated path, considering that this was the path it had taken and it deviated from that front, the ATC would have definitely known. But cruising at around 32,000 feet to 35,000 feet, imagining if there was a sudden depressurization inside the plane as well, then the pilots would have donned their oxygen masks, descended to a lower altitude and then got in touch with the ATC as well. Did that really happen? We don't know. There are sensors all around. Then there's another thing. Did the plane completely change its track? If that happened, then there is something called airborne communications and addressing system which sends the hints of the health of the aircraft to the maintenance base as well. Whether that really happened, we don't know. Why didn't the radar cover the airplane? We all know that over the water bodies, the radar coverage is not very good. But then the pilots have the aid of VHF and HF. Additionally, they have satellite phones as well to get in touch with the base as well. The entire region, as you would understand, not just this area, entire world is divided into various sectors, and every sector is in the know-how of the ATC. The radar blips every movement of the plane. Taking into consideration all these things, it remains as a big mystery as to what really could have happened with this plane. The investigative agencies plus AirAsia Indonesia at this point of time are not revealing much. Perhaps they are in the know-how, they do have some sort of a hint, but then for the near and dear ones of the people who are on board, this is a devastating news. And unless and until AirAsia Indonesia themselves come out and give a statement, all of this remains in the realm of speculation. With camera person Zahir Bagh, this is Pankaj Upadhyay reporting for Headlines Today.